Hey, Flickin' Fanatics, this is Pastor Dad Fox, Scott Fox. Uh, I'm finally back. It's been a little while. Sorry for all the delays. We did a live reaction watch along with Willow episode 1, and then the holiday season hit, and I got 4 kids and a busy family, including teenagers. And so finally, now that the holidays are starting to wind down, we're back to pick up the slack on episode this episode. We'll be doing Willow episode 2 through 4. Warning, this will include spoilers, so we'll see you in just a second. All right. Well, welcome back. Lots to discuss. So where we left off in episode 1 of Willow was with the revelation of Alora Dannon and her being identified as or a dove being identified as Alora Dannon, the true empress of the land. And so we that was kind of the cliffhanger hanging at the end of episode 1. We pick right back up there with episode 2 being the High Aldwin. We dive right back in. Again, there's going to be spoilers in here. One of the coolest parts of this episode was actually, I think, the relationship between Mim, Willow's daughter, and her, because Mim was the one who actually found Alora on the side of the river and brought her to Willow and his wife so that they could protect it or her. And some cool things. We see some flashback sequences. We see some dream sequences. We get a lot of references to Mad Mardigan. Just some good stuff. But the story, I'm going to be honest, episodes, not to jump too far ahead, episode 1 and 2 of Willow are a little bit slower, take a little bit of time to really get going. Obviously doing a lot of background work. But by the time we get to episode 4, later in this review, they have picked up a lot of steam, and it's actually pretty impressive, everything they do with kind of in 6 episodes that they've done so far. And we're just talking about 2, 3, and 4 today. They kind of move the story arc quite a long ways, always with this kind of hidden tease of Mad Mardigan in the background. And then you have a character like Borman, where they're constantly trying to reveal layers, but there's always this layer of distrust as to, is he telling the truth? Can you believe what he's trying to say? And where is he going? But in this episode, the High Aldwin, meaning the High Sorcerer, and Willow being the greatest sorcerer on the planet, on Earth, it almost has a little bit like a feeling of fraud. And we find out later on that he doesn't really want to use his magic. He's trying to reserve his magic because he doesn't want to waste it. It severely depletes him when he has to use it. And so he's afraid to use any of it at all. And we also get a little bit more about, if you watched our episode 1 reaction, I predicted that Commander Ballantine, when he got stabbed, that poison that went into him was going to take him over and was going to turn him into a weapon of the enemy. Boom, that took place exactly like we thought it was going to. And so he's coming to hunt for them. And we see this weird dynamic, and this will play out throughout the entire series, of Kit and Alora being the chosen one, Kit always kind of feeling like she's overshadowed and overlooked, but she's trying to do everything she can, but she also doesn't believe that Alora is who everyone says Alora is. And so in the episode, we have this long buildup where Willow is actually trying to teach her math. One, he has to come to grips with the fact that he has to go with them and take him. He can't just keep her there as a means to train her and bring her along. It's got to happen on the way to rescue Eric. And so they're in this on this journey together in order to discover that, and it's pretty good. But one of the better moments is they're in the wagon rolling along on the path, and Laura ends up vomiting all over Willow because the motion and um, the wagon, and you could tell it's coming too. That was one of the things about the first two episodes that I felt like was fairly predictable. Episode 1, highly predictable in a lot of it. If you watch our reaction, I pegged what was coming well in advance. This one was a little more predictable, but some of it's just kind of general storytelling stuff. If you are big into shows and movies, you can spot a lot of this a long way in advance. But Ballantine is coming hunting to try and capture Allura, having been sent to bring her back. But Sorsha sent Ballantine to bring her back. Ballantine is actually trying to capture her to deliver her to Nockmaar, which is where, or not necessarily Nockmaar, but that's we'll get to that point. But deliver her to the crone, who is the one who possessed him. We also find out that Graydon is a severe lore master. Borman was the squire of Mad Mardigan. Mad Mardigan is just teased as this thing that's always floating out there. And so while Kit is searching to save her brother, she's also searching to find her father, who's been gone for 10 years. It's been a decade. She was a child when he left. And so constantly trying to seek out and find where he is and what happened to him, and just information. And Borman knows. He reveals little bits as he goes, but he's constantly playing that close to the vest. Ballantine was looking for Allura, but something we saw in one of the flashbacks is that when Willow went, he tried to warn Sorsha about Allura's magic, and that if it's not nurtured, it would eventually go dormant and just be worthless. And there's differing opinions, and the Sorsha, being very reserved, thinks that hiding it is the best thing to do and to stifle it out so as to protect her, whereas Willow thinks, no, we need to feed this, foster it in order to build her up and strengthen her. And but she also Willow states that he is now a great sorcerer, and she says, you never were and you never will be a great sorcerer. And he flees, and he tries to convince Allura to come with him. That didn't go over too well. Also, Warwick Davis with a goatee braided out was quite a unique look in some of the flashback sequences. But getting to dig into some of these different storylines, we also find out that Graydon is quite a lore master. He knows quite a bit. He's well versed. He even tries to offer assistance to Allura, and what we see is this relationship with Allura and Graydon kind of building. He seems to take a liking to her, and she is struggling with who to believe, whether she can trust herself. She's on this quest basically because she was in love with Eric, but now she's questioning all of that. But she's already committed to it. But one of the great things is she has to work through this process of learning to say this charm or this incantation with Willow, and she tries it over and over and over and over and over and over again, and can't ever get it exactly right. And she doesn't have the emotion behind it. She's struggling, and right at the very end, she finally, after a little conversation with Graydon, she does get it, but she doesn't realize it because boom, Ballantine snatches her up, knocks her out, and hauls her away, which we expected. One thing I want to note, this show has a beautiful soundtrack. They've done a lot of covers, and the cover songs all come in right at the very end. And these 3 episodes are coming today all had great songs right at the very end of them that were just awesome. And including the Hurdy-Gurdy Man, which is by Donovan from the 1960s. That song was covered and was the end credit song in the High Aldwyn. It was really well placed. But that was the hanger. Right at the very end, we had Allura actually pulls off the magic but gets knocked out. She's gone. Ballantine runs away with her. And then that leads us to episode 3, where we pick up right where that left off. And we have... they have to start looking through the woods to try and find Allura. And we have some, this is the Battle of the Slaughtered Lamb, kind of a unique episode where we see one, she actually did pull off the magic. The plant grew. Kit sees it. She knows, and they separate. And we also start to see a lot of tension because Jade swore to help protect Elora Dannon, and also to find Eric. Kit only wants to find Eric and doesn't care about the rest of it, and is basically leaving it all for nothing. Jade was also said to protect Willow and go with Willow wherever he goes and protect him. And so there's this tension between the two that's starting to build, and you start to see that. I don't want to say lovers quarrel. What I want to say is their relationship is going through these different phases. It's early in their relationship, but Jade and Kit are really struggling with figuring this out. And then we also see a really cool backstory filler with Borman, where he tells Kit about the Cuirass, the Chimerian Cuirass, which basically makes you invincible, which is what Mad Mardigan went searching for. I know that all the things say that Val Kilmer wasn't able to reprise his role. We do get some voiceover stuff from him, whether that's old material reused. We don't know, but I'm still hopeful that by the end of this thing, Mad Mardigan, Val Kilmer will reprise the role. If it doesn't happen in this season, then hopefully maybe in the next ones. But the story of Thule that Borman tells is really awesome, and I love that he likes to add some drama, and he tells a story, and Kit is just like, hey, give me the goods. Let's just move forward, and you don't have to elaborate on all this junk. But they do move forward, and but this device, the Lux Eterna, is what powers the Cuirass to make you invincible, but it will only power on if you're worthy. It's like Thor's hammer, I guess. You have to be worthy in order for it to work for you. But Borman was with Mad Mardigan when they went to go search for this, and we'll get into more of that by the time we get to episode 6 and all of this. But 2, 3, and 4 right now. So yeah, we see this little quarrel stuff happening between Kit and Jade, and then they go out on the search. They're basically, this ginormous storm is coming. One of the coolest things is so Ballantine has kidnapped Elora. Laura cuts herself loose off of the sword, jumps off the horse, runs into the woods, and it's an enchanted, haunted wood. And one of the coolest duos, there's this duo of Hubert and what was the other one's name? Anne and Hubert. And it's these two ladies that are lumberjacks, basically, and they're awesome, absolutely awesome. When they figure out that Elora Dannon is who Elora Dannon is, they step up right away and like, we will fight for you. We sign up. We're in. We're going to go with you. And Ballantine shows up. Hubert gets into a pretty awesome battle and plunges her axe right into Ballantine's back. It's an awesome moment. Sadly, though, yeah, he's basically immortal because he's possessed by a demon from the crone, and that kind of sucks because she ends up dying. And then Anne and Elora make a run for it, and they escape, but unfortunately that still costs Anne her life. And then Elora's got the guilt of the fact that these two ladies who were willing to help her jump in with her are killed because they decided to help. And they end up getting all the way to this place called the Slaughtered Lamb. We do have some comedy intermixed here with Borman trying to help fix the wheel on the wagon. You don't see it, but later on you see Borman basically laying on the ground because he's had a hernia. Same with Graydon, as Silas is pounding the wheel back onto the wagon. They do a good job of intermixing some humor. Borman also busts jokes on Graydon and several of the other characters about leaving the comedic timing to him in order to add levity to the situation. Borman is really kind of a scene stealer in most of this show. And this, can't remember if I said it, but this episode 3 is the battle of what was it again? The Slaughtered Lamb. So the Slaughtered Lamb is this inn, but it's also where Borman hid the Lux Eterna. And so they have a path that they're on, but Borman convinces them that we need to go on this other path, and Kit goes with. They separate, and again, there's tension between Kit and Jade. Jade sticks with to protect Willow. Jade believing that Kit cannot protect herself, and then we also find out that that's mostly because Jade, whenever Kit would win when they were training, was because Jade was allowing Kit to win. And so there's this tension between the two. But still good. So Kit goes with Borman. They go in. They actually have were-rats, which are ginormous rats that are gross. Borman finds the Lux Eterna in this basically cistern well, hides it, says I couldn't find anything, sneaks out. Later it comes out that he, clearly they knew. But after breaking out of that, they have to go out through a sidewall. Well, they come out through the sidewall, perfect timing, plowing right into where Ballantine and his soldiers are battling or have surrounded Alora, Graydon, and Willow. And some of the people are still upset because Willow has not shown any of his magic. I think Borman is officially my favorite character of the show. Can't really spoil why just yet because this is only a review and 4. Oh, 100%. I've seen all 6, and I'll be doing that review tomorrow morning for episode 5 and 6. But Borman, not only is a scene stealer in the first 4 episodes, but in 5 and 6, man, I feel like he's got a redemption story and that he's fighting off some demons. And man, I want that guy to win badly. And I really want to see what happens when he wears the cuirass and the Chimerian cuirass and puts in the Lux Eterna. I'm also curious if that's going to actually work for maybe Kit, could be Jade, or if Borman redeeming himself will have that work. Jumping at, anyways, but I agree, Mike, 100% scene stealer. And so we get into this battle, and there's this fight where Willow could help save everyone with his magic, but he doesn't want to because he knows it will wear him out. But unfortunately, Silas takes a massive blow, and essentially it's a fatal blow, or it inevitably becomes fatal, and hits the side of a cliff. And Willow basically goes into a rage and destroys everybody. I can't remember. Avagdu is what he yells, and he slams down his staff, and it just blows the demons out of everybody, but it also kills the people by doing it. It essentially just destroys them. The worst part being that Ballantine, being released from the demon, is basically on his deathbed and has to ask Jade to kill him. Brutal sequence, and this really plays on Jade hard. And also it again affecting the relationship between Jade and Kit. But so well done, because you get this moment where she has to basically kill Ballantine, but Ballantine raised her. He brought her up. He taught her to be a soldier. He taught her everything he knew. And when he tells her it was his greatest honor to raise him, but then he asks her to kill him as kind of his last wish. So brutal, but good. It was really well done. And it went a long way for building the arc of Jade. And we find out more about that in episode 5 and 6, but that's too far ahead. So, but that's where we leave. At the end of that battle, she kills off Ballantine. Their only way to go is to go up, and they can't figure out where they're at, but Willow knows, and they're at Nockmaar. Nockmaar is where Bavmorda's castle is. I agree, Mike. The last 2 episodes will be better for Kit. I think we're going to see a big step forward in her character arc and a little bit of redemption for her. They have 2 episodes left, 7 and 8, and I think they're going to be they're going to be dynamite. I'm very, very hopeful for those 2 episodes, especially because I felt like the series started kind of slow in 1, slow in 2. We got some good stuff, but man, by episode 4, 5, and 6, this thing was off and running, and I was hooked. I was already hooked on the show, but man, those 3 episodes were just like, the only frustration was I didn't have 7 and 8 to binge watch right behind them, because I really wanted to just plow through the whole thing. I do feel like this show will be rewatchable multiple times, and it's climbing the ladder of the things that I love the most this year. And as far as a fantasy epic, man, it's really growing some legs because there's so many plot and storylines all the way across. That being said, we still don't know where Eric is, other than we know that there's basically a portal to the Nether Realm opening up over the top of what is the Nockmar? And so, but again, that's where Bavmorda was at, and that's where we jump to for episode 4. Oh, sorry. Enter Sandman is the cover song at the end of number 3. The cover of Enter Sandman, I believe it was done by Rina Sawayama. When that kicked on, after the hurdy-gurdy man at the end of episode 2, then we got Enter Sandman, and then the Whispers of Nockmar, the next episode, the very end song for this one is Black Hole Sun. Beautiful cover of a Soundgarden classic from my influential age of being a early teenager in the early to mid 90s. The song choices in this show and the way they did the covers of them and used them in the show, spot on. Really well done. It added some of that 80s, 90s nostalgia feel that I have from the original Willow movie. So Enter Sandman was that song at the very end, which just I loved it. I absolutely loved the use of it, the spacing. So Whispers of Nockmar, this is episode 4. This is where we are in the castle. Willow basically lays out a couple rules, but this whole episode revolves around the Lich is this poison that's inside of Graydon, right? It's this demon that's inside of him. For any of you, now the Lich King is something else out of World of Warcraft. Never mind. Anyways, the Lich that was released from Ballantine somehow partially got into Graydon, so they've got to release him. He's dealt with this before. We also, again, have found out that Graydon understands languages, the occult, runes, dark magic. He's really well versed beyond what people give him credit for, and I think his character is coming along quite well too. But they kind of just continue to hint at deeper levels for each one of these characters. Borman, Willow, everybody, and we keep getting flashbacks for Willow of what he's seen, what he knows, his views of the future, all these different parts. But we get this episode is all inside of the castle where Bavmorda tried to lock Alora Dannon's spirit into the Netherworld and trap it. And she was part of the Order of the Worm, which was led by the Crone when she was young. There's all this different stuff happening in this episode. Is basically we get a lot of flashbacks where they see the whispers or the sounds and the views of what had happened in there with the Willow movie. So if you love the Willow movie, this episode is 100% for you, because it takes everything from the movie from 1988 and interjects it into this movie so that the people understand the connection between the two and how the two storylines overlap. Spot on. This was I don't want to say 100% my favorite episode, but man, this one's really good, especially because what we find out about the characters and their pasts. We find about Laura Dannon's mother and what happened with that. We find out about the bloodline that because Bavmorda is Saoirse's mother, that means that Eric, who has been kidnapped, and Kit all bear the bloodline, and it's believed in their world that the blood passes down some of that magic as well as the possession, like the desire for power and everything. This is the best episode of the show. I'm right with you. It's man, 5 and 6 are really good too. But 4, because of my love for nostalgia and the original movie, this episode fed my heart in an incredible way. It really hit in all the feel spots. We see, so in the castle, Willow, they basically have to depossess Graydon. and free him from the lich. He knows what this is going to entail, and as they find out and they rip his shirt back, that he's got scarring from the last time they attempted to do this. He was possessed, and we find out why at the end. But we are given a couple of instructions. One, do not go in the tower, and two, I can't remember what the second one was. Don't go in the tower was the big one. But maybe don't free Graydon, or don't interfere, or something like that. But they basically have to search this place for this to make this special salve. They find the old book that Bavmorda used in order to figure out how to exercise whatever is inside of the lich. And through this, we actually find out that Alora is learning all these different types of magic. She's learning about the incantations. She's learning about basically apothecary, or mixing all the stuff together. And we so Whispers of Nockmaar. Sorry, I was looking at my note. I love. There's one of the lines where it says that everyone's allowed one good cry per quest. But that's a little bit later on. We get Jade sees the shadow, or hears the voice of General Kale. Later to find out a little sneak about that. I'm not going to give it up yet. But Kale, she sees the shadows of Kale. Kit sees all the shadows of Bavmorda. Alora sees her mother and Bavmorda and herself intermixed in here. Everyone gets to see a little bit of what had happened in the past that ties in with their life specifically, even though they may not realize how it affects their life or how they're connected to this whole storyline. But it's understood that it's all part of it. And so everybody in the castle is essentially being haunted by these hallucinations and the sounds and the demons of the past of Nockmaar. And so it's a really dangerous place to be hanging out. And essentially it's turning everyone on each other, but also on themselves. Hear voices calling. There's this chamber which has a door which is almost the same. Ooh, nope. That's hinting at what comes in episode 6. But it's this door where Borman hears it, and so Borman is obsessed with trying to break into this vault. Can't quite get in. He even gets into the storehouse to try and find this lubricant to pick the lock. Graydon is essentially locked up, tied down, and so they can exorcise him. Laura sits with him, and you kind of see a bond starting to build between these two, which is well done. A better relationship arc and story going between Graydon and Alora than there was between Eric and Alora. And I would say that the way it's building is actually on par with the way Jade and Kit's relationship is building, even though Jade and Kit, they come a long ways by episode 5. But they are working to try and make this salve that they have to put on him to exorcise the demon, cast him out. But everyone's running around the castle basically struggling to figure out what's happening or why they're all independently being called to different things, only to find out that then a massive sound. Borman thinks the castle is messed with his brain. He thinks that he was pickpocketed for the Lux Arterna or Arcana, and he goes and he tries to basically blame Kit and Jade. They're like, I thought you said you didn't find anything, and he realizes that he may have overstepped. But when they try, I do love the line where they're like, how do we know it's real Borman? Because they barricaded the room, and Borman goes, you two are desperately and hopelessly in love with each other. And they both step back like, no, we're not, never mind. And then he's able to push through. Borman, again, scene stealer, always has some of the best lines. Jade, Ehrman, and Borman arrive, find that Graydon is possessed, try and stop him. And when they hold him down, they know they're going to have to kill him, but they don't. They recognize this is a moment where Kit goes to Alora and tells her to do this, not to worry about the wand, not to worry about other stuff, just to do what she needs to do. And she knows that she can suck out the demon from him. what she attempts to do. But what he's trying to do is basically lock her spirit into the netherworld, which is the same thing that Bavmorda was trying to do. So the Lich has passed from all of them down to now Graydon to try and do this thing that was not able to be done before, and again fails to be done now. And the Alora was able to cast it out, but when she did that, she also saw how Graydon was possessed as a child and how he killed his older brother. Ooh. Oops. That is... Damn. He was possessed and he pulled his brother down out of a tree and killed him, which is why he has all the scarring and why he's so well versed in this stuff, because he had to know. Graydon is probably the most... Graydon is a very interesting customer. Yeah, right on. Actually, I think Borman might be very interesting too, but I would say that Graydon has a lot more layers behind him. Like, you wonder, like, why is he so well versed in this stuff? Finding a lot of that out. I'm still curious as we get to episode 5 and 6 and the next thing that I'm going to put up tomorrow. I'm curious to see. There's this constant tension of who to believe, and it's hard because they're all semi-deceitful. And you want to believe, but then part of you is like, is this a partial truth, a half truth, or just complete BS? Or is it the whole truth? And you never know. And that's really difficult. But then at the very end of this, we jump. She's saved Graydon. And we also find out in this about the blood of the Six that confirms the fears. The bloodline is intrinsically linked to dark magic, is one of the statements, it's really well worded by the website Into the Magic, that it's all tied together, right? And so then at the very end of that, it cuts to Eric, who's trying to escape. He's in a cell. He ventures outside. Basically, it's a city in a desert. Everything's ruinous, and he's got to try and figure out his escape. And that's where, again, the soundtrack for this show just absolutely crushes it. Black Hole Sun. He's in the Nether Realm, and that's the song covered by, I think it's pronounced Noella. I'm mispronouncing that probably, but the cover of that song is eerie in its placement on the episode, just heightened it to another level. And so as a whole, this episode kind of, we now know she's got magic, she's got power, she has abilities, and she is starting to trust herself, still not knowing. Willow is struggling to trust her. And there's steps forward in that in the next 2 episodes. But with this, we also see a solidifying of this team, right? We have Willow. Silas we lost, which is sad, but we have Willow, Kit, Jade. We have Alora, Dannon, Graydon, and Borman, right? This group is now, having been through all this stuff together, they are really in it together. The next episode is titled Wildwood, and that is an interesting turn in the story that is also awesome. A little slower episode as far as some of the battles, or no battles and stuff, but it takes the story in a direction that is surprising, but also does a lot of work for getting us to understand and appreciate some of these characters more. And we'll get into that tomorrow morning. Episode 5 and 6 will be tomorrow morning. We'll have that up. Let me know what you guys think. What was your favorite episode? What were your favorite moments? What things stand out as highlights in the show? I'm going to be honest. Rings of Power is one of my favorite shows to come out this year. And this show, if it finishes strong, might supersede Rings of Power. Just throwing that out there. I'm really, really enjoying this show now that we're into the home stretch. We've got the penultimate episode next, and then the finale, and they've got a long way to go to wrap up all these storylines or bring them together. but I'm excited for it. This show, I was after episode 1, I was kind of lukewarm, but man, it's got me pumped up and moving, and really excited for where it's going in the finale. So click like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you guys think. We are grateful for all the support that you guys give us. And like I said, we're just excited to be able to do any of this stuff and to be able to talk about movies, and your guys' support, encouragement, subscriptions, likes, comments, all makes it worthwhile. So keep it up and let us know what you guys think. And tomorrow we'll have episode 5 and 6 reaction with spoilers. So check that out as well. All right. Peace.